Yo people, what's good? It's Paid Boy T and I'm back again with another Drip Network video. Now in today's video I'm going to give you a clear explanation for the recent price action, my thoughts, and ultimately why I think right now is the perfect buying opportunity if you're looking to get into Drip, or if you're looking to dollar cost average down from your entry if you bought up high, or if you're just looking to accumulate more Drip. So let's get into it. Now the first thing that I want to address is the current market situation. Many people think, how come the market is up or doing well while Strip is going down? So I'm going to get into that and break it down for you. So firstly, we're going to take a look at Bitcoin because, as you know, Bitcoin is the top cryptocurrency which moves most of the market. So, and the reason being for that is because the majority of coins or tokens are paired with Bitcoin, right? So you can trade ETH against Bitcoin, you can trade Cardano against Bitcoin, you can trade any of these currencies mostly against Bitcoin, right? And because of that, it means they have liquidity paired with Bitcoin. So if one of the liquidity pairs goes up or down in price, that has an effect on the other pair. So that can go up or down in price based on what the other one's doing. So because Bitcoin is paired with almost literally every token or slash coin, that then causes it to pull the market up and down. So that's one thing you need to understand initially. Now, if we take a look at the Bitcoin price, you can see here is when we topped out at around 60,000. And then we went into the big crash, and then we've been in a bearish / sideways market ever since. Now, one thing to understand is that Drip launched around April when the market topped out, and then we went into a big crash, and have just been going sideways / downwards ever since. And now during these times, from Drip's low of around $2, Drip then went on a crazy run all the way up to $58. Guys, that's a 29x. Drip outperformed BNB by 20x. So because obviously BNB went from around $600, crashed down to below $300, so that's down over 50%, probably over 60%. Now, during this time, whilst BNB was just going sideways / down from its big 60% crash, Drip outperformed it by 20x. So by saying that the market is up and Drip is down, it doesn't really make much sense here, because whilst the market was down, Drip was going up. And now here's the reason behind that. Systems like Drip will thrive during times like this, because what you have to understand is a thing called hedging. Now, hedging is where you hedge your position. For example, we live in a world of inflation. So to hedge against that, you have to store your money in something that's going to go up in time rather than the currency, which is debasing over time, losing its value. That's an example of hedging. Now, within crypto, Drip is almost seen like a hedge, because what you have to understand is when the market is crashing, for example, if I own one Bitcoin, right, that's $60,000, then it crashes all the way down to $30,000. I have essentially lost 50% of my money, unless obviously, you don't lose unless you sell. But, just as a general idea, my money is now worth half what it was worth originally. So in order to hedge against that, because as we know, Bitcoin pulls the rest of the market down. So if Bitcoin crashes, most things crash. So in order to hedge against a crypto crash, things like Drip is a great way to do that, because when you invest in Drip, the primary reason that you're investing in something like Drip is to get that 1% daily payout. The price is like a bonus, okay? You have to understand this. So the reason why you invest in Drip is because it provides you with passive income. Consistently, guaranteed every day, you're going to get paid 1% of whatever is in your deposits. And you can also compound the 1%. So the idea is that you keep compounding to increase your deposits, thus increasing your 1% daily payout. So it doesn't matter what the price is doing. If the price stayed stagnant the whole time, you're actually earning more Drip, so you're earning more money. So that is essentially why when the market is crashing, things like Drip did very well, because people are hedging their position, then trying to make money rather than lose money by just sitting on assets that are just going down in value. So that's one thing to understand here, is that Drip is fundamentally different to any other coin or token, and hence why during the bearish market we saw Drip go on a mad run. So it's important to understand these things. Now, to quickly go back on that point, yes, there is an element to the market going up being bullish for Drip, but it works in the sense that if Bitcoin's going up, then that creates bullish sentiment within the market, meaning everyone's bullish again, everyone's happy, expecting higher prices. So thus they then put more money into crypto, which in turn can be positive for Drip also, because typically speaking, when Bitcoin's going up in value, that does tend to drag all the altcoins up with it. And also in the sense that if Bitcoin's going up, typically BNB is also going to do well. And because most of our liquidity currently is paired with BNB, if BNB goes up in value, that plays a part in Drip and causes that to go up in value somewhat. Now, it's also very important that you take everything that I'm saying and understand that it all plays a role in the price. So there's many factors to this, but I'm going to try and break them down clearly for you to get a better understanding of the recent price action. Now that brings me on to my next point, that we went from a low of $2 all the way up to $58, and that was done in a matter of a couple of weeks. So we did a 29x in a couple of weeks. We actually went from $9 up to $58 in 1 week. So, that's a big move. So you have to understand that corrections are normal. Bitcoin corrects roughly 85% every 3 years. This is a normal thing for markets to correct. So now after we had that huge run, like I said, obviously it's normal for markets to correct some, but what actually started that initial sell-off was somebody that was invested since pre-sale that was never staked in the faucet because they didn't actually look into the project, and they realized that they were sat on a hefty amount of money, and of course decided to sell like any person in that situation would. And then obviously we started going down towards the 30s, and we were actually pretty stable around the $30 area. Now I'm going to break down the kind of important stuff which pushed us below that $30 range where we were stable at. And now, of course, anything that's gone up that fast in that short time period, of course, people are going to be selling to take some profits. So, well, I guess that's kind of what a correction partly is. But this is all normal stuff is what I'm trying to say. Now, talking about the main part of this video, why I believe we kind of lost our floor price at around $30 is because DRIP has now been running for just over 100 days. So guys, as you know, you earn 1% daily, which means after 100 days, you have essentially ROI'd, you have returned your investment, because 1% daily after 100 days, that's 100%. So your available would reach what you put in your deposits if you didn't claim and you just left it for the whole 100 days, which of course some people have been doing, because you have to understand that with these things, some people are a bit skeptical and some people don't quite understand what it's all about, and they're just trying to return their initial investment so that they've then got free money essentially to play with. Now, of course, that's not fully factually right. Once they then claim, they lose 10%, and when they sell into BNB, they lose a further 10%. So really, it's only 80%. But for the sake of just understanding, after 100 days, they have returned majority of their investment. So it's no surprise that some people have sold to make their money back that they put into the system, to then have free money to let ride. So that's another big key thing here to understand, is that a large amount of the selling was probably down to this. People just returning their investment so that they then have free money to ride. So you can essentially think of it like, we had to have a bit of a sell-off in order for us to then pump eventually, which is like every kind of crypto. Everything has to, come down in order to go back up. Now guys, the next thing that I want to talk you through, which is very key, this is probably the most important part of the video that you need to get an understanding of. Here we're looking at the DRIP token contract, okay? And now, for anyone that doesn't understand what a contract is, this is essentially what DRIP is made of. This is like the behind the scenes of DRIP, if you like. And we're going to walk through it now. And what I'm about to talk about here is what I think is the largest part of the selling pressure that we've seen recently. So taking a look at the contract, if we head on over to the holders, then what you're looking at here, this top contract is essentially the faucet and where the rewards are paid from. So here you can see 850k. So this is majority of DRIP tokens, right? So obviously, as you know, there was a total supply of 1 million that was birthed originally, and 85% of that almost is locked in the faucet, and that's this is also where rewards are paid from. Now, this second contract where it says 86k, this is our supply. So this is how much DRIP we have left over. So this is where rewards are paid from. This is where the supply comes from. So, two different things. Now, if you take a look at the second contract, so this is our supply, this is the remaining DRIP supply. So here you can see our liquidity, which is essentially our reservoir. So like Uniswap or like PancakeSwap, they are AMMs, so they're automated market makers. So the way that one of those works is you have liquidity pools. So when you buy a token on Uniswap, you're buying from a liquidity pool, which means a liquidity pool is essentially where someone gives up 50-50 ratio of two assets into the pool, and then when someone comes along to buy a token, they are either putting into the pool or taking out of the pool, right? So then when you have a user come along and use Uniswap to buy a token, they are essentially changing the ratio that's in that liquidity pool, and the difference in the ratio is what gives it its price. So essentially, when someone buys from Uniswap, they are buying from someone that's provided liquidity. That person that's provided liquidity has given up 50-50 ratio of two assets, whether it be, Bitcoin and XRP, let's say, then when someone comes along to buy some XRP with their Bitcoin, what they are doing is, they're putting in Bitcoin into that liquidity pool and they're taking out XRP because they've bought XRP and they've given up some Bitcoin. So now in the liquidity pool, there is more Bitcoin and less XRP. And because there's less XRP, that then increases the price because there's less of it in there. So in short, that's how an automated market maker works. And we're going to run you through how that works in relation to drip. So in our liquidity pool at the local top of $58, we had 15k BNB sat in this pool. Now, if you look at this number, you can see that it's drastically dropped to only 5.5k BNB, right? So much BNB has been taken out of our liquidity pool and thus has affected the price and caused it to go down. Now, although I just described an automated market maker where you give up 50-50 of each asset, the way that our DEX works is actually a little bit different. In our liquidity pool, you only give up BNB. So the fact that the BNB has dropped from 15k to only now 5.5k has caused the price to go down. Now, the reason behind this, of all the recent selling of drip and removing the BNB from the liquidity pool, is in preparation for Stable Farms Finance. So this is our recent partnership, and essentially the reason why they're doing that is to then provide liquidity over on Stable Farms. So generally people are selling their BNB into DAI, which is a stable coin, and also BUSD, which is obviously, as you know, another stable coin. And they're then gonna, once this launches in 2 days, they're then gonna come on over to the farms and they're then gonna stake it in these farms. So the incentive behind doing this is that, one, they're gonna earn, the stable native token, which they can then sell for drip and then put back into the faucet. But mainly the incentive behind doing this is so that we have more liquidity over on PancakeSwap. And now to explain why, I'm going to read Forex's announcement of the Stable Farm partnership for you to get a better understanding of why people are removing liquidity from our DEX and wanting to put it over here so that it's on PancakeSwap. Okay, so what you're reading here is Forex's announcement of the Stable Farms partnership. And the reason for this, you can see here, with the constant volatility of BNB, adding additional stablecoin pairs to drip and creating a deep stablecoin pool for drip will allow us to see greater growth unpegged to the day-to-day swings of BNB. We have seen this work very well with other projects such as Hex to disassociate their growth from the day-to-day swings of the market and will give us a chance to pull away from the crowd. So pretty much like I said earlier, Bitcoin, because it's paired with pretty much all of these other tokens, it has an effect on all these other tokens. So when the price goes up, it typically drags them up, and when the price goes down, it typically drags them down with it. Now, drip is primarily currently paired with BNB, and obviously BNB is also affected by Bitcoin just as much. So, but by us then having more liquidity over on PancakeSwap with stable coins such as DAI or BUSD, which are pegged to the dollar, so they stay at $1 roughly. This means that we will have a more solid ground, we won't be as affected by the market because most of our liquidity is with a coin that is pegged to the dollar, so it doesn't move like Bitcoin and all these other coins. They're very volatile, so they move a lot, which would then concurrently move drip. So the fact that we're now trying to add more liquidity with stable coins means we will then be more disassociated from the market, which is what we want. We've seen that work very well with Hex. In my last video, I showed you the Hex chart and I showed you how Hex is literally just taken off compared to all the other these are top coins, but because most of them are paired with BTC, they all kind of have a similar price action, which when you look at the Hex chart, you can see that it's not affected by the rest of the market because most of Hex's liquidity is primarily paired with stable coins. So Forex Shark, the dev behind Drip, he's kind of following in the steps of Richard Hart, who is the founder of Hex, and he's essentially trying to do a similar thing. He's trying to disassociate Drip from the volatility within the market. So this is actually really good in my opinion. And let me just close this video by just explaining how I see all of this. So essentially the way that I look at this is that currently we're just taking a small hit on the price in order to then build the price up later. So that's kind of my whole take on this, is that, we're removing liquidity now, which is having an impact on the price. But when the farm is live, we will then put more liquidity back into, it'll go into PancakeSwap, which will then, give us a more stable price in the future because we won't be, as affected by the rest of the market. So this is really good because if we get all this adoption like we're planning to achieve, with the focus visual, which will bring loads of influencers on board, that's 12 million potential followers that will then see Drip and start using Drip. A game's going to be coming out very soon, which will have in-game items that you can purchase with Drip. Many partnerships are in the mix, many things that will create adoption. So if we get this adoption drive, then being disassociated from the rest of the market will be very, very good for us. So that's my kind of whole take on it. I know that was a lot of information. I hope that you've kind of, pieced that all together and now you've got a more clear understanding of what's been happening recently. You may have to go back and watch parts of this video again to just solidify that knowledge. And now lastly, just to close off this video, I just want to say that, the local top was $58. We're now sitting pretty stable around $21. So this isn't even much of a crash, guys. Like, in the grand scheme of things, if you follow tokens, then you would understand that this really isn't much of a crash. And the reason behind this is because majority, 85% of tokens are locked in the faucet. So you can only sell what is collected in your available balance. So we have reduced selling pressure, and hence why, despite all of that selling, like all of these things that I've just explained to you, that's a lot of factors that have impacted the price recently. And, any other token like this really would have crashed it probably about 90%, maybe more if it was, not a very, if the tokenomics weren't great, it could have even crashed it more than that. But, we've probably only done like a 60% move. So this really isn't much, guys. So I want you to understand that this isn't much of a sell-off, and the reason behind why the price hasn't actually come down that hard is because there's reduced selling pressure. You can only sell what's in your available. So the Drip tokenomics are very strong, like it's a very solid smart contract. So it's important to understand that. And with that said, it's been Payboy T. I hope that's given you some clarity, and I'll catch you guys in my next one.